So a lot of you were requesting this tutorial right here. So I'm going to get started with the first part. So I'm just going to put that in front of me so I can kind of see what I'm doing. All right, so we have a plain canvas. This is just a stretch canvas. You can just use whatever you want. If you're going to do paper, I recommend watercolor paper. And then I just have a basic spray bottle, and I'm going to go ahead and spray this down. You want it to be like a pretty thick layer of water. And then for the colors, we're going to do, this is cadmium orange, and this is primary cyan. I don't know if you can see. And these are by Royal Langnickel. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. How I usually do my palette is I work from darks to lights. So we're going to be doing the orange last. And I'm going to put down the darker blue first. I usually do about 2 washes, but it kind of depends. And then you're going to want to use a brush like this. Make sure there's no see there's like a hair that fell out of it. You're going to want to make sure that that's kind of ready to go. And then I'm just looking at my source and kind of seeing where this is going to go. I'm just working on like a plastic tablecloth so I can wash it off after. Okay, and then this is always the fun part for me because I like getting a little messy. And I always tilt the brush on its side like this. Doesn't really matter how perfect it is because it's just going to get sprayed like a zillion times anyway, so I don't really worry about like the composition too much in this part. Okay, and then I'm going to move the water around. As that's doing that, I'm just going to invite it to come over. If you hear any crazy like wind outside, we have a windstorm right now, so it's pretty intense right now. Okay, I'm going to spray this down a little bit more and play around with edges. This is kind of like paint pouring, but it's a little bit different. Don't worry if you have like a lot of drips. You just kind of want it to be dispersed. There we go. I don't worry too much about the sides. It can do whatever it wants to do. Each one is going to be a little bit different, so, but you're going to want to work with like the same color palette and kind of try for almost the same area. Sometimes the water needs a little bit of help. I can already tell that this is going to need like one more coat just to like cover some of the stretched areas. All right. So yeah, it doesn't really matter how perfect the first bottom layer is, as long as you just get like the basic outline put down. I'm gonna do like one more thing before I leave it alone. There we go. And then I try as much as I can to get like these two areas to kind of blend. We're not going to put any green down because like on the original, this area right here, that's orange, that was over, I put that over the blue, but that's not the wash. That's just some areas that I painted. So okay, gonna leave that alone. And then kind of blend that in. Oops, went a little too far. Got a little crazy. It's very unpredictable sometimes. But that's kind of the uniqueness of a painting. Like each wash is very unique. So you kind of just have to use your eye and your artistic eye and kind of decide what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. And I've done this so long, it's kind of just like a feeling. You don't really, it's not really something that you like logically decide. Yeah, that's doing a fun thing right there. If I get quiet, it's because I'm using my right brain too much. It's the artistic side of my brain. Okay. So I'm not really happy with this edge right here, so I'm going to try to blend it up as much as I can. And sometimes things get a little weird and then you just have to straighten them out again. It's the awesome thing about painting is it does its own thing, but you can kind of direct it to do what you want also. So okay. Yeah, see how this is getting messy? I clean this up afterwards, so that's why I do it on plastic. So I'm gonna play around with this orange side a little bit more. And kind of decide whether I'm okay with it drying like this. I think I'm gonna leave this alone and I will come back in like 10 or 15 minutes and we will start on the second layer. Okay, hello. Okay, so I've added a little bit. This is dried for like 10 or 15 minutes. And I've added another layer of blue. So this is it usually takes about 2 layers for me to get to a point where I'm satisfied with it. Let me kind of position this so you can see everything. Okay, there we go. And I'm just make sure you are tilting your brush kind of on the side. Kind of the same thing like we were doing before. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Do not obsess over this part too much. Just make sure like all your areas are covered. So that way you have something good to, yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with that sentence, but anyway. Have something good to like kind of move around. Okay, you're just going to spray it down. And again, we're just going to kind of play around with it. Maybe spray it down a little bit more. And kind of just try to keep that side blended into itself. Okay, there we go. This part is kind of self-explanatory. I don't know if you've ever done like a paint pour before. Alexa, stop. That's just my timer. Because I usually set like a timer for these kinds of things. Okay, and then there we go. Want to get a lot of that blue. This is just kind of a process of playing around with it and seeing what you like. There we go. Yeah, try to take your time with this because it kind of dictates how the rest of the painting is going to look. So you kind of want to use your eye and imagine where you want like all the dark and light spaces. And it's okay to come back. Like, I think I'm going to leave this alone after I cover it one more time. Yeah, I think I'm okay with the orange part. So I'm just going to let this dry and then we'll put like our last coat. But the last coat is not going to be the wash. It's just going to be regular paint. And I'm going to use like one of these type of brushes for that. So it's very soft. It kind of looks like a marker, but you kind of just, you know, do it in that way. It's very good for like dry brushing and blending and that kind of thing. So yeah, we'll see you in about another 10-15 minutes and we'll finish this layer up. Okay, see you then in a bit. Hey, I'm back. I got a little impatient with waiting for that part to dry. So I just used a hair dryer. Okay. And sometimes you can use the hair dryer to kind of move the paint around. So I know I told you about this one brush back here, but we're not going to use it yet. I'm going to be using one of these like spongy thingies. I don't know what to call them, like round sponge brush. And I like these because you can kind of blend and do whatever you want with it. You can just pack like super, super dark layers on and it's not anything weird, so. And you can kind of blend it out. Okay, and then we're going to do some circles. So that way I can get, you want to do it really slowly, otherwise it's going to be kind of weird if you're trying to do it too fast. The paint can go down kind of weird, is what I mean. I think everything is better if you kind of, with painting, if you try to go a little bit slower, and it doesn't really make it like, what am I trying to say here? Like painting is like a passionate process. And I think if you don't do it slowly, then things can get like really messed up. That is what I was trying to say. Okay. I'm excited. Today I get to get my ears pierced. Well, I have 2 holes already, but I'll have to show you guys and gals a photo of what it looks like after. I'm gonna have 3 holes. 3 holes on each ear instead of 2. I've recently gotten really into like earrings again. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Okay, so this is kind of looking a little better. Don't mind this like weird, it looks like a puddle, pool, whatever. I'm just gonna kind of blend it out. And while I'm doing this, I'm looking at my original and kind of, I know I want this area to be a little darker because I remember in the original I was having to make this darker. So we're going to make sure that we already have that done. And sometimes it's okay to have your brush strokes stick out. Like you don't want everything to look too perfect. I like things to look a little raw, like not too edited. Okay. So this is coming together. I'm getting excited. There we go. I do remember I had to make this corner like a little bit darker too, so I'm just going to do that while I'm already here so I don't have to do it later. And a little bit over here. Save myself some painting time. Oops. I used to get really freaked out like with this like stage of the painting because I'd be like, oh, it has to look perfect. No, it doesn't. This is just the phase where you put everything down and then you do the drawing, and then you're going to have layers of other paint that's going to cover everything up anyway. So not everything, like this layer doesn't have to be super perfect. This is the layer where you say F it and kind of just do what feels good. And you don't really worry about perfection too much. So, okay, this is that like marker brush I was telling you about. I'm just gonna do some blending with it. Just putting those like darker layers in. I always kind of move my brush around so I can get like different textures and brush strokes and different angles. Like I said, you don't want everything to just be like one cohesive brush stroke. Like if everything looks too blended and too perfect, it kind of just, I see so many paintings. And if that's your style, like it's your style, but for me, I like things to look a little bit more mixed up and exciting and not like too blendy. Like it's not my face. It's not like I'm trying to put on a perfect face of makeup and make everything so perfect. Like I know when I'm putting makeup on, I'm always like blending this and blending that, and I try to do like the opposite with my art. Like a little imperfection is not going to kill anyone, so. And it also gives, like especially in this painting, like layers like this kind of give the illusion that you're looking into the water. And there's like waves and different things going on in it. It's kind of exciting. It gives it a depth that's missing. Like if I was to try to make everything super blended, it would look kind of fake. And I try to avoid that in paintings. Sometimes I will use like a makeup brush or like a, you know how you have like the blender, you know, for like foundation. Anyway, I use these sometimes just to like say I'm like trying to do like fog or something. Because different brushes obviously do different things. Okay, this is turning out how I want it to. Let me grab a drink of water. Okay. This is my first time using, like the other day when I did that painting, it was my first time using one of these, which was really fun. I wasn't sure how like the brush itself was gonna put the paint down, but I think I'm a little bit obsessed because I've been using it since then. Okay, I'm gonna spray my palette because I need a little bit of moisture on this brush. It's getting kind of a little bit too dry brushy. So you just kind of have to feel it out and see if that's how you like it. Okay, we're going to fix this other side. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but it's a little bit of a stark contrast. Like, so I'm just rinsing my brush off. I usually keep like one of these like microfibers off to the side so I can kind of dab and clean my brush off. So this is how I do it, and like I pinch all the leftover color off. And then to correct something like this, I usually start in the corner. There goes that crazy wind again. I always hold the brush kind of flat so I can blend it out. And then we're just gonna, you always want to carry your paint all the way to the edge. Obviously, you don't want any edges that are kind of cut off and they look kind of strange. Oh, we got a motorcycle guy. Either that or it's a chainsaw because there's a lot of trees that are coming down. Okay, so I'm kind of liking the dark contrast. That's why I said every painting is kind of unique. It sounds like a chainsaw. I don't know. Yeah, so I kind of like that. Like it adds some depth to it. Okay. Wow, that's actually kind of cool. So yeah, not every painting is gonna exactly look the same. It's just more about having the colors in the same area. So like here's the original, but this one's gonna be a little bit different like once everything's put down. So be prepared to kind of accept where the color wants to go. I think I'm gonna add like a little bit of white to maybe lighten it up a tiny bit, but that's about it. That's my black. I'm just gonna mix a little bit of white and with some orange. But I always think like if you get too obsessed with, again, perfection and every painting being exactly the same, you're going to spend forever like driving yourself crazy. So just maybe lighten it up a little bit if the paint does do this. And yeah, don't get too obsessed with being like, oh, it has to be perfect. So And then if you want a little bit more blending, I would maybe spray it with a tiny bit of water. Just that way it feels like it's going to go down a little bit easier. Okay, there we go. Softened it up a little bit. There we go. I'm going to let this dry and change out my cup and stuff. All the water is dirty, so yeah, I'm going to let this dry and I will see you for the sketch part. Okay, so I'm back. So this is really dry. We're just going to use a pencil to sketch this out. And I'm going to kind of size up things. Like I said before, if I just get really quiet, it's just because I'm focused. Trying to make these a little bit more rounded. This one needs to be okay, so right about there. I always just take measurements of things and like measure from one end to another. Let me see. So right about there. Okay, so right there. Just so I can kind of make dots of where everything is going to end. I'm going to have to do it again with this because I feel like this is not as long as I want it to be. Yeah, it's a little bit off. So maybe just add like a little bit more length. So there is a pond, well, like Japanese garden, and there's always a bunch of koi fish in it that I like to go visit. I think it's closed this time of the year, but it's one of my favorite places to go. Okay, so we're getting to, let me see. So it's like right about here. I try to eyeball things as best as I can. Okay, this part has like an undershadow, so you're just going to sketch like the under part. And so when you're painting, then you just leave that part blue. And I'm just going to make that line up. Here we go. I know the body of this looks kind of weird when you put it down, but it makes more sense when everything is painted. Okay. I'm gonna add like a little bit of a nose. Yeah, it looks so weird when it's sketched out like that, but let's see. And then as you're painting, you can always add more paint on top of the sketch. Like if you feel like something looks a little weird. So I don't worry too much about the sketch part either. Like I'm already obsessive enough. I don't need to drive myself crazy. Okay, so this is what we're looking like. Very rough sketch. Need to put on some fins. And as, like I said, as you're painting this, everything's gonna fall into place and it looks way less weird. Okay. Okay, weird fish sketch done. All right, so we have right about there. I try to get these as accurate as possible. Just that way it sort of looks the same and it's cohesive. This one always looks weird to me, like when I put it down. Just like, what the heck? Because it always like floats. But it looks a lot better once it's painted. Everything I feel like in this painting looks a little weird. But once it's painted, then it looks very normal. So yeah, don't try to obsess too much over the sketch part looking normal. It's kind of like the wash part. If you obsess over the wash looking normal, you're gonna go nuts. Okay. I don't really need to put down the middle because the middles I paint, so it's not really something I sketch in. Okay, let's see here. So the first one is right about here. This mapping out method is something that I use a lot. Excuse me. I use it a lot because it helps things kind of stay in the same position. So yeah. Okay, I have to see where I'm at. This area gets kind of dark, so I'm trying to pay attention to the outline. Okay. That wind is crazy out there. We already had a couple branches fall. Okay. I'm almost done. And there we go. Okay, so 2 flowers. You can kind of see them. Like I can see them better off camera, but. And then we're going to do this like really, really long set of branches. Okay, there we go. That one's done. I like being able to show you guys like what my behind the scenes process looks like, because nobody really gets to see everything that goes into one of these paintings, so it's quite exciting. Okay, these flowers, I try to make everything rounded. And then when I'm painting them, I use a round brush also. It just makes everything a little more, looks more gentle. Okay, we got one last. And then again, I'm not going to put down the middle because I don't really need to. And then this one right here, I remember when I was doing the original, it was quite the humdinger to try to figure out where I wanted all the shading and stuff to be, because if it like falls off the side of the canvas, and so I just kind of felt like it looked a little, I don't know, a little odd. But I definitely enjoyed figuring it out, because it feels a lot better looking at it now. But when I was first starting, I was like, I don't know how the heck I'm gonna make this look like it's a normal flower, because the original, the source was, it was very blended, and I didn't want it to look blended in the painting. So I think I did pretty good trying to figure it out. Okay, and then this is going to come down. And you kind of don't really want to control the branches too much. Like I just start with one small section at a time. Okay, there we go. This feels so natural talking about something that I've done for like ages. I feel very comfortable. Like I've already been talking for like 13 minutes and I'm very chill right now. Okay. So, let's see, we got one leaf right here. This one's kind of curved. And then we have, I think that's the end of that part. Yeah, okay. Like, I remember I started drawing when I was 6, and nature scenes was one of the first things I started drawing. I remember I drew a flower. It was in my mom's garden. And it was like a nice sunny day, and I just went outside and started drawing. Felt very just normal and relaxing. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix this tail because I feel like it should be a little more pointed. Let me see if I can find an eraser. We'll just make it more pointed. Kind of same with these. I'm changing pencils because I want like a little bit darker of a line. Okay. This is just a number 2B. I think that's resin or whatever is on there. It's just this regular sketching pencil. Okay. There we go. Just going in and darkening up the lines. Yeah, so that is the process. So you do the wash first, then you do the sketching. Oh, I forgot to bring this down. I knew I was forgetting something because it felt a little empty. That's why it's always good to double back because you never know if you're forgetting something. So just take your time with it and should be okay. But I always double check areas because I don't like to leave any details out. Okay, this one's a little crooked, so kind of reminds me of like a witch's finger in like one of those older movies. Anyway. Okay. I feel like this needs to come down a little. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. I'm going to get my palette and stuff ready, and I'll see you guys in like 5 minutes. So, I am back. So, how we're going to do the painting process is we're going to do dark to lights and like in between. So, I'm going to start with some black and a little bit of this magenta color. And we're just going to put down all the dark areas first. How come I thought I had opened this one? That's weird. Maybe this is another black. So it doesn't really matter the ratio as long as you're not just putting plain black down on the canvas, you're good. Excuse me. So I usually just put like a pea size amount of each one and kind of just mix until I get like a little bit of like a reddish black tint. Here, I'll show you on my canvas. Sorry, I had to move my stuff. So it's like a blackish magenta, Like it's not all the way black. So I'm just gonna start putting down like dark areas. And I do, if you're wondering, I do wet the palette a little bit so it doesn't dry and I kind of have a little bit more movement. Okay, this area, like I just work in kind of chunks. And it helps to put the darks down first so we know definitely where your medium tones are and what areas you need to highlight first or last, I mean. Okay, if you're wondering what brush I'm using, I don't know what this style is called, but it's more pointed, so that way I can just put down a lot all at the same time. Again, this isn't like a really super detailed part of the process. I'm just putting down the darks. Just that way I know where everything is. I like this little like eyeball. It's definitely a fish eyeball. Okay, I want that part to be rounded and it kind of, yeah, there we go. So this is like the super easy bit of it. And it just gives it like a more of a defining area. Add some definition. Okay. I'm using the same color to put in the branches. And you just gotta follow where your sketch mark is. And just trust that you're putting it in the right area. So there isn't a whole lot of dark, like super dark area to this painting, except for like the little, what would you call those? I forget what they're called. Anyway, the little like stems and the flowers. But those, oddly enough, I'm going to put on last because I have to wait for the rest of the layers to go on. So sometimes you end up working kind of backwards. And this is a good example of one of those times. I like to hang out in an area and just kind of refine it. There we go. Oops. I like to move things around so I can get like a different angle. All right, there we go. And if you don't want like to, what was I going to say? I forgot. Hate when I do that. If you don't want like your line work showing, you can just come in later and kind of cover it up. This is just my process. Okay, I'm kind of darkening it. I'm adding a little bit more black. I need a little bit more water, so just added a little bit of water to the paint to make it a little bit more runny. Because sometimes you want to fill all those like little crevices and holes in the stretch canvas, so. Okay, so I believe that is the last of the dark layers. Excuse me. I love that I can always hear crows around here. Crows are my buddies. I feel like they always follow me around wherever I'm going. Well, I don't feel like it, like I know they are. They're always like, "Hey, what you doing?" kind of thing. I'll be out like on a walk and some like a crow will pop up. Okay, so that is all the darks. Okay, and then next I'm going to put down like some of that light peachy color. So I will be right back. So this is what they would call like a, hold on, I'm getting situated. Okay. This is what they would call like more of like a in between light and dark color. So like a neutral. And this is the Cameo Pink. Nothing special, just regular. Let me grab one of my towels. Okay. So for like this area right here, that's going to be the Cameo Pink. I had to clean up my brush real quick. 1 second. Okay, so you want to just put it down randomly. Try to find your outline as best as you can. Don't worry about the highlights. We're going to do those last. think I need to switch brushes. Yeah, I do. So I think I'm going to switch to one like this because it's a little bit more curved. It'll give me more to work with. I don't think I like that one. The hairs stick out too much on the side. Let me make it a little bit wetter so way. Yeah, it still has a hair that sticks out. Oh, 1 second. I'm going to try one of these. These are new, so I'm kind of having some fun with them. Okay, let's see how this does. Oh, that's a lot better. Kind of just feeling it out. I don't know if I like this brush either. I don't know. I'm being kind of picky right now. I'm gonna have to get some, maybe pull out one of my older brushes. Maybe we'll go with this one. It's just gonna have to work for now. Okay. Oh yeah, we're gonna stick with this one. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to like put a neutral in until you can kind of work your way back and put in like lighter tones, or I mean darker tones, because sometimes the neutral helps the darker tones to pop out. So I know I said you kind of just have to know where you're at, like pay attention to what layer you're working on. Like this one, I know for sure I'm going to end up putting in like darker tones after a neutral. So sometimes you end up going from neutral to dark and then all the way to light. Just depends on what area of the painting you're working on, but generally I try to go dark, neutral, and then the highlights. Hope that's not too confusing. And then I'm just pushing down on the brush a little bit so it disperses the color. I like some to be almost on the sides of it so it has a little bit more to work with. Okay. I'm going to go back to this like main brush right here. I notice like with this brush, I have a lot of I use this one for a lot of purposes, so don't really be afraid to use the same brush over and over again. I know you guys were asking me about the flowers a lot, so now you're going to be able to see the process. Okay, there we go. These two kind of blend into each other, so don't really worry too much about trying to make it perfect. It's just one of those things. Okay, I'm gonna have to tilt this a little bit because I want to be able to see that sketch shadow. Okay, so I have I always put down the outline, usually most of the time, so I don't end up confused. Like, where the heck did my line go? And it's okay to make them like a little bit bigger if you feel like it's missing some pizzazz or like some size. Excuse me. My throat gets very, very dry. I need a drink of water. You're going to see this painting have many, many, many lives. Like many different layers. It's crazy. Okay, let's see what else. Oh, we have a little bit of one right there. There we go. It's okay to leave it like a little bit of a tilt. Oops, trying to clean off my brush. 1 second. Okay. So yeah, this is the first layer. Don't really get too crazy about it. Like, I mean, like obsessive and overthinking it because you're going to add so many layers on after this. So like put down some good color, but definitely don't go crazy and worry a lot about it. Okay, a couple more. I should like I should just dump some out on my palette because I'm having to play with my brush too much. Okay, that aside, I'm gonna put the lid on this. Same thing with this one. And it's okay to like go over your pencil a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. So this one, I'm just going to go ahead and block that one out. Like I said before, this one kind of messed me up a little bit because I got a little OCD with it, and I was like, it needs to be perfect. And I ended up doubling back on layers so much. It was a little exhausting. So this time around, I'm just gonna wing it and not try to make it amazing. I've learned a lesson. So I was like, it needs to look floaty and like majestic and amazing and oh, they're back. I'm pretty sure they're on their motorcycle. Pretty positive. It's a little bit of sarcasm for you. So this one I think has a very long I know people hate that, but sometimes I say so it's very hard as like an artist to mix your left and your right brain. So yeah, that's why we end up saying a lot. If you didn't know, especially like people that have to teach. Okay. This is almost done. Try not to get impatient with yourself. Like, if you feel like you're not going fast enough on a flower, just feel it out and take your time with it. Okay. Next, neutral, because we're in the neutral phase still. So this kind of counts as a neutral. I feel like the flowers have their own layer that they're supposed to go in compared to the rest of the painting. If you want to add some texture, you can always add some medium and have fun with it that way, but I'm just going to keep it flat. So that's totally up to you if you want to do that. Okay, so we have our basic middle zone, light phase, neutral put down. Neutral phase, I mean. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and rinse off my brush. And we are going to go with the other neutral. So I'm going to do some orange on the fish and on the leaves. If you follow like the basic dark neutral lights, you'll find this painting goes a lot faster. I had to do about a couple layers of orange though, because this orange does not pop out if it's like one layer. It kind of like bleeds into the blue and it looks kind of weird. So yeah, see, this looks like a little muddy even though it's its own layer. There is a little bit of orange in the flowers too, so yeah, there's that word again. I'm also putting some ripples in the water with this orange. Helps kind of define where the fish is. These also need like a couple layers. All these orange layers that I'm going to put, they have at least like 3 layers to them, so definitely want to be pretty patient. Okay, I need to look at the original. Okay. Wow, this is almost like a half hour. This section, definitely take your time with it. Don't rush. Just add what you can when you can. And there we go. This one almost looks like a sunflower like this. Okay, there's some orange. Oops. This is kind of the same thing. Like you'll see when I get to, like once I put down the orange, then I kind of have to double back and put in some red. So don't be shocked if you end up having to go back to a dark. Is anyone excited for Christmas? I definitely am excited. Excited for everyone to open their presents and just like see the looks on their faces. Okay, really no point in like putting orange on orange, so I'm gonna skip the upper area until I can put some highlights on it and some red. Okay, gonna add some little bit of orange to right here. This is such a weird phase of the painting. It's like nothing, it kind of makes sense, but it also kind of doesn't. So just be patient and know that it's gonna take a while before it even looks anything like the other one. Okay, putting more orange. This is easily going to be like a 2-hour tutorial, so make sure you're settled in and you're ready for a long one. Gonna add some orange. Kind of like you see like the end of his eye, you're gonna make a line and kind of section that area off. I need more water. Excuse me. Okay, don't worry about like that white highlight area because that's going to go on top. So this needs to come down. Yeah, so I'm just going to bring that straight up like that. It doesn't need to be perfect because we're going to be putting so many layers on. Like, once again, just get your basic line, like painting lines down. Okay. Okay, one last bit with this orange. Kind of try to make it flow. And then don't worry about like this line right here being too harsh. I also forgot to put in some dark on that area, so we're going to double back and mix up some like black and some of that like maroon color, or magenta, I mean. Okay. There we go. Where else could I be missing it? I think that's it. Oh, I needed to add some like right in here. That's why this area got weird. Okay. So it's starting to make sense. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to play with some of the white. So we've already worked, we did dark, mixed. So darks, neutral, and then that like peachy color. And then now we're going to do some white. So I'm trying to keep myself in a good pattern here. This is where I put down like some highlights. We're going to put down like the bubbles and a lot like in the flowers too. So oops, I put a little bit too much white on my brush. Okay. The white kind of helps it to pop a little, so don't be too afraid of using white and layering. Okay, and then we're just going to add the little white details in. You'll see that this part, it helps it to really come alive. It doesn't look so dead after I add these highlights. I always just wait for the first like basic layer of white to dry so I can pack more on top of it. And it does make it look way more intense. So there's many, many, many layers to this painting. But it helps if you go in the same sequence and you're you know, just going through the colors, like the darks, neutrals. It helps it go a lot faster. As long as you can remember where you're at and you're not getting too crazy with it. Okay, now we're going to add our little bubbles. Bubbles, they don't really need to be that perfect. Like, kind of just play with it in the order you think would look a little natural. Oops. We got one by his little fin here. And then one right there. See, after you put like the first layer of white, you can easily put another one down. So as long as you're building on top of the layers, it's always going to pop the way that you want it to. So just make sure you keep yourself in that loop. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of highlight down right here. But I'm not going to take it too seriously because I still got to put another layer of orange down. So just adding more bubbles. Okay, so you can kind of see where this is going. And just look at your original or your source. I'll leave a download for the painting if you don't want to watch like the whole like long tutorial. That's really up to you though. Okay, adding some of those highlights in. Again, lots of patience with this part of it because it's a lot of like outlining and hand. You have to be very steady with your hand. Okay. Oops. Then I'm just going to put some on the back side. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of bring it down and just make sure it defines it enough, basically. And this one I'm going to make a little bit thicker because I can see on the original kind of blends down into itself like that. Okay. Almost done. Well, with this flower, not the whole thing. So these will kind of pop once the darker parts get put down. You want to be very mindful of like where your original highlights are, so make sure you're actually putting them where you want them. Okay. I feel like I might have to reinforce some of the other highlights in the other painting because they're a little like on the, they kind of like fade. I don't know if I like that too much, so. Well, except for this flower right here, which this one kind of really stands out, but. Okay. This is kind of to cover up some of those pencil marks too, so that's why I said don't really worry about the pencil marks because they're gonna really, really, really fade. Okay, I want to add some highlight. And okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm taking a look at something. Okay. I'm gonna finish off these white highlights. I know these almost look animated right now, but once you start to put the depth in them, it's not going to be that bad. So we can be okay with the super animated phase right now. Okay. Because once you have these down, then you can just add the darks and everything makes a lot more sense. Okay. Trying to get rid of some of that dark pencil outline. Gonna add some little dot dots. So I'm back. So now I'm just touching up on some of the water bubbles. I'm gonna open another bottle of water. Getting thirsty. Okay, I've added another layer of white also to the ends. Because I want it to stick out a little more. And we're adding a little bit of white to like this area so that way it pops out a little bit. And then if you see any areas where like the highlights need to be touched up on, just go through and have another go at it. Okay. So I feel like these need some work. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with everything here. Okay, so we're done putting down the highlights. I'm gonna add some more orange to make that orange really pop. So I'm gonna go ahead and work my way back down again. So this is what I'm talking about. This other layer of orange really makes it stand out. It's not as muddy anymore. So you're gonna have to do at least like 3 layers to really get that pop. Oops. Okay, I'm also going to play around with a little bit of like this metallic bright orange. This is by the same brand, but it's a metallic version. And it's a little bit on the brighter side. Okay, there we go. See, it really, really makes it stand out. And then once you put your red down, then it's like, oof, gets all crazy. I also need to add some yellow but that's going to be when I go back down to like the lighter neutrals. Okay, sometimes accidents happen, so you just like accidentally covered up some of this black over here, so kind of just go with it. Okay, I have to blend these two. Okay, so there's that one. I think I will mix in. We're going to start putting in like the darker pinks. So for that color, I'm just going to mix in some of this magenta in with this lighter color. The cameo pink color that we used earlier. So I'm just going to use the same brush. And we're just going to mix it till it gets a little bit darker. Later on, we're going to use like a little bit of like some black to make like a pinkish grayish color. Yep, so first color we're putting down is like the pink, cameo pink color. We're going to make a bunch of that because we got to use a lot of it. I always mix them really well so way everything goes down nice and smooth. Okay, this color is really thick, so it's going to cover a lot of area. Okay. We're going to skip this petal. And we're going to move on to this one. Okay, layer right there. You want to look at your original and really scope out what ones need to be done and which ones don't. And you also want to make sure that you're doing the lines really clean, otherwise your highlights won't pop. So you see how like there's that little space in there? Make sure you're leaving that, otherwise you'll end up with a very confused looking flower. Okay, putting a little bit down like right here and a little bit on the side, and then coming up. And that is it for that one. Okay, and then just starting from the base on that side. Okay. This like darker pink color isn't in a lot of areas, so these flowers go by really fast when you're doing it this way. All right, there we go. That's it for that one. Deep. Deep. Okay. That one only has a little bit. This one's kind of the same. Doesn't have a lot. Okay. And so once you get this all like mapped out, then you can just put in like reds and that darker gray color. Okay. I love how these are starting to pop again. And then these just kind of like blend it off to the side. It doesn't have to be like super defined. Just give it like a little bit of, here we go, definition. Okay, now we're going to put in the darks. So we're going to add some of that gray. So this is where it like really, really starts to pop. I'm just mixing up some magenta and a little bit of black. Just to get like that darker gray color. If you need to make it a little bit lighter, you can put the cameo pink, like a couple dots of it in there, just to give it like a less harsh of a look. Okay. This section needs to be darker. There we go. Like I said before, don't be afraid of some brush strokes. They can really help things pop. Okay, I feel like this, sometimes you can kind of change how a flower looks. Like if you're not really feeling the depth. So this one's an example of that. Like I kind of made it look a little bit different. I feel like there needs to be like some deeper pink in here. Okay. So middle is definitely not done. But we're definitely adding some depth in here, which is nice. You're starting to pop a lot more. So we're just putting the darker layer in. It's definitely making it more vibrant. Okay. And don't be afraid to like get lost in this process. Like everything is going to be layer after layer, so just take your time with it and focus. Definitely focus. Okay. And then I did notice there's like a little bit right in here. And then it is on to the next. Okay, so this has like a lot of darks that are popping out and going to the edge. So I want to know in the comments, who was your favorite painter growing up as a kid? Mine was Bob Ross. I used to sit in the morning and just like watch him paint. Him and his little happy accidents was very inspiring. Made me feel like I didn't have to, there was no pressure. Okay. I'm just taking this to the edge. There we go. And then we got one more. Okay, I'm gonna add some depth right there. Kind of pulling it out. Just playing around with it. There we go. Okay, and then we're just gonna make it a little bit darker towards the middle. Okay, there we go. Next is going to be a lot of pink. Oh, and I definitely need to add some red, so we're going to make it pop with some, this is some crimson red. Let me take off the tab, but it's like a very bright cherry red. I'm only going to do like a little bit because I don't need that much in this painting. Make sure you clean off your brush and then put down that red. I'm going to add a little bit of like a black tint to it. Just to deepen it up a little bit. Yeah, you don't want it like too black, but you just want it to where it's intense enough. Then we need to add the stems in there next. Okay. This is where all that depth comes in, so just make sure you take it to the edge of the flowers. Like the edge of like where the petals begin. Okay. Okay, now we're going to add the stems. So we're going to go back and add some of that black. So I'm going to switch to like a way smaller brush. Where are you? It's in here somewhere. Maybe I can do it with this brush. Let's see. Just going to load it up with that black and going to make some points. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it with this one. Maybe I could if like I had enough water on the paint, with the paint, I mean. And you're just going to make like these little dots at the end to tell the person where I think they're called proboscises, like the little antennas that bees, they pollinate the flower with. Proboscis. I don't know, let me know in the comments. I'm not super educated when it comes to flowers, so forgive me. Okay, we're just adding more dots. We get a happy pupper outside. The wind has finally died down, so that's been nice. Doesn't sound as crazy over here. Okay, these need to come up. Okay, there we go. I feel like it's missing like a little bit of gray or something, because I do think I put gray in the original. Like I can see some of this edge right here. It's like a pinkish gray. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit over here. There we go. Maybe a little bit darker right here. Also, let me know if you like these kinds of tutorials, because I can do one on another painting I did, but I actually sold it, so yeah, let me know in the comments. Okay, I need to brighten up this flower right here. It's a little bit like on the darker side. You can see in the original, like the middle right there is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to go back to my orange. And we're going to do another layer of orange. I'm actually gonna put some more orange in the other ones too. Okay. Maybe I need to mix some of this orange with some yellow to kind of brighten it up a little bit. So we're going to do some cadmium yellow because I do think that I added some of that. And it actually, yep, I do remember that now. Added some of that to get it to lighten up quite a bit. Sometimes you remember your process like when you're in the middle, so. Pupper's excited. Okay, gonna get a little messy. Okay, I got some yellow on my finger, but screw it. Like I said, it's getting messy, so it's part of the process. Okay, I'm adding some of that yellow around the flower. Okay, after this yellow layer, I'm gonna add some red. So that way it makes it pop a lot more. Okay, I'm gonna have to take a quick break. I will be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I'm just adding some yellow. Taking some of the like metallic yellow and kind of just playing with it in there. Kind of want like a little bit of a bright contrast. Just that way when you put like the deep red in there, then it really pops. Don't mind the dogs outside, they're going freaking crazy. So okay, I got like couple more fins to do. Adding some brights in here. Okay, there we go. Makes everything pop a lot better. This doesn't have to look exactly the same, like everything is a little bit different, but it's kind of just the same colors that we're using, so. Okay, I'm gonna take some of that red. One second, I'm doing something back here. Okay, so I'm doing like a cadmium red. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it's like this super bright red that makes everything pop. So let's start up here. Just put on these really intense, like red outlines. There we go. Don't mind the dogs. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna leave these like normal. Okay, thank you. Thank you. My canvas came, so I'm excited. Okay, so that's that for that area. Oh, I need to add some red in here. Just gonna keep it nice and bright. And notice, like, when I put the red down, everything started popping a lot more, so. Just gonna take a little bit of color off of here. Excuse me. Had some really good fish. Had some salmon, teriyaki salmon thing. And some rice and broccoli. I don't know, I like simple stuff like that. I like to cook, but sometimes like I like a nice simple meal. Okay, so notice how that really made it pop out. I'm gonna do some outline with some orange, maybe mix a little orange and some red. Okay, excuse me. I feel like we're getting pretty close to this being done actually, so. Oops. I got some red on my hand. Accidents happen. So we can always just cover that up with some orange. Just mix it with some, a little bit of yellow. I can always go over it with like a little bit of white to make it a little bit lighter. to start putting some yellow in here. Might want to put some brighter colors. Just trying to lighten up this orange a little, make it look more sparkly on the water. It's okay to just keep going over colors with many, many, many different layers until you're happy. A lot of the times, like, I just keep going with like oranges and until I'm actually happy with the shade. It's a little bit obsessive, but it works. You just gotta make sure like you're in the right shade zone so your painting turns out how you want it. Okay, gonna carry on with this like bright orange. Oh, sorry, I'm stretching my legs. I'm a little bit tired from filming. Okay, so putting a little bit of highlight right there. I can tell I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. Had a nice workout this morning too. Okay, got some nice bright orange. Oh, I noticed there's a little bit of red on the tip over here. Okay. Let's brighten up this right here. There we go. Okay, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty on the mark, like as far as colors and stuff goes. Just brightening this up so I can put a little more contrast in there. Okay, adding some like of a peachy color. Okay, gonna mess with some white again. Need to put some whites on the edge. I need to do more white. I kind of want to tilt this because it looks like it comes down like a little bit more. It's a little bit more wide. Okay, and then I need more bubbles. I'm just getting more white paint. And then we're just going to do some outline. We're going to do these like 2 little dots right here. Just take it nice and easy along the line right here. Just drag it nice and slow. And then we're going to bring it up to the eyeball and connect it. And then we're going to do like one small line right there. There we go. Then make this a little more defined. I remember this was like when I was putting on all the highlights, this was like the last phase. I was pretty excited about it. Okay. Oh, we gotta put more bubbles in right here. Looks like they're like double stacked, and then there's 1, 2, 3. There we go. Oh, we also need a couple highlights right here. It's amazing how like all these little small things really make everything pop. Okay. We need a little highlight right here. Let's see what else. You make this one a little bit bigger. Okay, and then I think, oh, I also need to add some pinks in here. So I'm going to try to get it as close to the original shade as I can. Just mixing up some magenta and what was that other color? Cameo pink. There we go. I'm just going to add a little definition to some of these flowers. Is it weird that I kind of like these flowers a little bit more than the original? I don't know. But anyway, you do the layers on the flowers. You go from light to your medium shade. So like this lighter pink in here, and then you do the darker gray like gray pink that helps it really pop. So that is the secret. All right, so to really make this stand out, I'm going to add some yellow, like that color that you see up there, because that's missing right here, and I can definitely tell. So I'm deciding what brush I want to use for that. I can give this one a try. We'll see how it goes. It's this one right here. Okay, so far I'm liking this. Yeah, I'm liking this. This is really making it pop. It's not exactly the same shade, but it's really just the idea of getting some brightness up in here. Oh, and then I also need to add some like darkness to the sides. I'm just doing some light dry brushing. There we go. Oh, I also forgot about this leaf up in here. I need to put a leaf like right here. Okay, so let's see. I think for the darker shade, I used a little bit of black and a little bit of orange and kind of just darkened it up a little bit. We have to see what we come up with. Yeah, that's it right there. It's like a brownish orange color, but it really adds some like depth to the picture, so. And it kind of helps blend it a little better. I just smudge it around with my finger. Okay. And then we're just going to do this edge right in here. Just going to keep smudging it until we have that depth that we want. This one's a little bit darker. I think the original is. So we're just going to kind of just let it fall into place and do whatever it wants. There we go. Okay. Gonna have to be okay with that being darker in there. All right, so this one is a little, like slightly different, but we're making it work. So All right, so I'm done playing around with that part. Now I'm just gonna use like one of my smaller brushes to kind of blend it a little bit more. Okay, and then we're gonna add some line work with like this darker shade. I need to kind of blend it. Maybe make it look a little less black. Oh, let's see, what else do I gotta do? Oh, I need to add outline to this right here. Having so much fun doing this piece. Bun, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm having so much bun. Okay. I'm gonna play around a little bit with that cameo pink color and just kind of lighten it up a little bit. I'm gonna mix it with a tiny bit of yellow, cadmium yellow, and we're gonna create like a lighter spot like right in here where it just like looks like the sun might be shining through or something. Okay. Anyone else like enjoy listening to music? Let me know in the comments what you like to listen to while you're painting. I'm very curious. I can listen to anything. It just depends on my mood. Like it could be rock music, it could be alternative, it could be like anything that isn't nowadays music pretty much. I'm not really into the nowadays type of music. All right, so like I said, don't really worry about your brush strokes. It's okay if they pop out. And then we're going to add a little bit more highlight. Oops, that can be fixed. It was a little bit too runny. Yeah, so things happen like that during painting. You can just like paint over it and nobody will notice. Okay, so we're going to thicken this up. And oh, we need to do that little leaf. We're going to put more white. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna finish off with some blue and we're gonna deepen up the sides of this because I know for a fact that blue's a little bit darker on the side. So I'm gonna use, that's violet. Where's my other blue? Let me grab my deeper blue. So I know the one I used on the side, it was the Balassian blue. I cannot pronounce that. That is a very long name. Anyway, we're going to do some of that. That one is the metallic one. And we're just going to deepen up the sides of this. I'm using the same brush and I'm just mixing. I'm mixing these two blues right here. So this one is just primary cyan and the metallic blue. And we're just deepening the edges, kind of blending it out and like, but at the same time, like kind of making it natural looking. Okay, this is the time where you want to just touch up on any mistakes, any areas that need more blending. I'm going to switch to my other brush. So this one right here. Just blending it up on the sides. Making it look a tiny bit more in depth. Okay, and then we're going to take a little bit of white and a tiny bit of blue, mix them up together. And touch up on that area. And kind of blend. Okay, so I'm going to deepen up this color in here. Trying to decide how I want to play with this. Because I don't want it too dark, but I also don't want it too light. Oops. Okay, I need a little bit more lightness to it. Okay, trying to lighten it up a little bit. Just so that way it like sticks out a little more. Okay, I'm going to switch brushes because I need to do detail. Some detail work. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit more like white to like the middle right here. Just wanna have it stick out a little bit more. The wash itself didn't end up as light as I wanted it. So we're just gonna fix a couple things. Okay. Let's see. I feel like this right here needs to be a little bit more open. Just gonna lighten this up. There we go. It's really, really popping now. Ooh, I gotta stretch. Okay. And I gotta blend these out a little bit because you don't want them to be too intense, but you want them to stick out. Look a little bit more natural. There we go. And instead of just like very intense white dots sticking out on the canvas. Okay, so kind of debating whether, yeah, I think in this one I'm just gonna make like some ripples, and I might add some ripples to the original because it's called Echoes in the Pond. So I kind of want there to be ripples around. Okay, touching up those edges. Adding some more ripples. Adding some highlights. Okay. I'm pretty freaking happy with this painting. I do feel like the fish needs to be a little bit lighter in this one. So, I'll play with that orange, mix it with some yellow. Yeah, what do you think, guys? Guys and gals, I love the ripples. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And yeah, this was fun. um, I may or may not go over the paint like one more time. But in general, this is this is how you do it. I don't think I'm missing anything. Like I keep going over different areas. I am going to add some ripples into that one because I like how the effect looks. So, oh, I need to finish that leaf. Let's see. We'll do some bright orange and a little bit of white. There's actually 2 leaves. So, see, we'll do some orange and then some white. Oh, and of course we gotta sign it. So always sign your paintings. We're gonna put some highlights on here. I always use like a white color to sign. I just put my initials. It's a good thing I looked. All right, everyone, if you enjoyed this tutorial, go ahead and subscribe, and there will be a lot more. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you have a good night or day wherever you are, and I will see you around.